can't just be me that's been feeling like this recently. Just this feeling of being burnt out 90% of the time. Like, I'm not even doing that much, but somehow I'm constantly tired. Almost as if like I'm mentally checked out and emotionally numb to everything that's going on around me. I think the issue I have is one of the first things we do every morning is we go on our phone. And if you haven't noticed, this channel is very much anti social media. But anyway, you go on your phone, and people are just constantly getting after it. They're waking up at 5, building a business, meal prepping, hitting gym, working 2 jobs, investing, journaling, meditating, side hustling. And they're doing all of this by like midday. It's crazy. And I'm just thinking, you know what? Let me do my 9 to 5 and maybe pick up something, maybe a hobby or a side hustle at the end of it. And that feels like an issue. That feels like such a big hurdle. And I think a big part is guilt starts kicking in when you're not as active as everyone else you see online. You start asking yourself, if there's anything wrong with you, why can't you be like this? Or why is it that when I do this, I'm not having that same level of success? And it's kind of, this video is kind of piggybacking off the last video I made around feeling lazy. And the sole point of that video was that you need to find purpose. So you you enjoy what you're doing and not constantly feeling lost. But I think I didn't quite address the other side of that, which is burnout, which is you actually do have passions, you do have things you want to do, but you're burnt out, so you can't give any more. And the worst part about that is that you can at times fall out of love of what you've been passionate about. And yeah, that just, when I woke up this morning, this was one of the first feelings I had. And today being a Sunday is quite interesting because it's like I'm passionate about so much and I do so much, but there are days where I feel like I don't want to do anything. But when you don't do anything, the guilt afterwards, oh my goodness. I mean, everyone deserves a break, of course. And it's a Sunday. If I choose to, go out with my girlfriend and maybe chill, watch some films, maybe play Call of Duty, I haven't actively done anything to make me money or, I don't know, invest or anything crazy today. It feels like I'm falling behind because I chose a day for myself. And I just think I want to talk a bit about how dangerous that line of thinking can be and where it can lead you. Now, of course, you know me, I'm going to talk about social media. But just before I get there, I want to get into that a bit slowly. I think what it really comes down to is that we do exist in a time where just living or just being is not enough. We're constantly being told to optimize everything: our time, our bodies, our finances, our mindset. Every moment has to be productive. Every hobby needs to become a side hustle. Every bit of free time becomes a missed opportunity if you're not improving something. Even rest has been repackaged as performance. It's just so crazy how this has become what it is. Um, it's not take a break, it's literally recover so you can get back to grinding. We're not allowed to just simply be. We have to be better constantly. This is stressful. This affects you, especially in the long term. And the problem I have is that when you don't listen to these outside noises, you feel guilty, you feel lazy, worthless, almost like you're wasted potential. And that guilt doesn't come from you, in my opinion. I feel as though this is something that's programmed into you over time. You have to think. I'm not going to make this bit too long, but back in the 1950s, of course, there was entrepreneurs and all sorts like that. However, there wasn't this what we call social media to continue to drum into your head, you're missing out, you should be doing this, drop what you're doing and do this now to become rich. There wasn't this pressure. And this is addicting. I mean, making videos on how to make more money will always be, profitable and successful videos because that's what people want. Of course, look, we're all in the rat race, and the cost of living is getting worse. I'm actually going to make more videos on the cost of living, but the point is, times are tough. And when times get tough, you need to work hard to get out of those tough times. This isn't me saying you shouldn't do that. I guess I'm just trying to, I worry about modern mental health because it is getting worse. And I feel as though how social media affects the young people in having to do more and sacrifice every bit of their life to get more, I think that's detrimental and it's going to affect us in the long term. I think social media has had a significant impact in how we understand productivity and this hustle mindset, because we have influencers who show us their 18-hour work days, or a motivational speaker telling you stuff like sleep is for the weak, and a society in general that just values output over well-being. But I guess my question to you is, when have when has chasing productivity ever made you happy? I feel that this hustle culture sells you this illusion that if you do more, you'll finally feel enough. But this never comes. This doesn't happen. And I think it's important to understand that there's a difference between being productive for the sake of being productive and actually doing things in your free time that better yourself because you want to do it and you're passionate about it. I feel as though burnout has become the baseline and not a red flag. Like, you would say you're exhausted and people respond with, yeah, same. You say you're not sleeping and people tell you that, yeah, that's normal. And you can say stuff like you haven't had a break in months, and that's seen as dedication. You can also say you're anxious and drained, and people tell you, oh yeah, that's just the grind. And it doesn't make any sense to me. The more burned out you are, the more serious you seem about your goals. And it's crazy because I feel like we reward suffering. We praise people for working through pain, for sacrificing sleep and ignoring their body and just pushing past their limits. And it simply just doesn't make sense to me. This isn't, in my opinion anyway, this isn't strength. This is survival, and surviving is not the same as living. We're not made to work endlessly. We're not a machine. At the end of the day, we're human beings, and human beings need rest, connection, play, and slowness. So we need time to ourselves. And in the hustle culture we're in, that's just called distractions. Cut that all off. And this, what ends up happening is you ignore what your body's telling you. You drink more caffeine. You keep pushing through headaches, fatigue, brain fog, and emotional numbness. And at times it just reduces the quality of whatever you're doing. That's exactly why it doesn't make sense to me. When you're in that phase of not feeling passionate anymore about maybe what you were passionate at the beginning, you tell yourself it's like a phase, and that those around you will tell you to just hustle a bit harder and push through your emotions. And in my opinion, you're eventually gonna see the negative sides of that eventually, which is why it doesn't make any sense to continue to push past it. And I think the best way to put it is, if you don't learn to rest, your body will force you to. And this could either be through illness, breakdowns, or complete emotional shutdown. And that's not a warning. Like, this is actual reality. As you guys know, I work with children, and my job is around safeguarding. And of course, you want to do the best job possible. But I guess the best way I could explain it was, if I'm not at 100%, then the work I produce can't be 100%. And I think there was a very difficult time our local authority was going through. And, we had a lot of situations where children needed support, and I was in, day in, day out, pushing hard, wake early mornings, late nights. And I thought I could keep going. The only thing on my mind was, you got to keep these children safe, and I got to do what I can do to keep these children safe. And all of a sudden, I woke up one morning, I couldn't even move. My back hurt, my eyes hurt, my arms hurt, my legs hurt. And I genuinely did not understand what was happening. It got to the point where my girlfriend was coming into the room bringing me food. I had to call in sick. And that's all because you think pushing past what your body's telling you is that dedication, and you just going through it, and it's not normal. At the end of the day, you will be replaced. You can't take the money you've made with you when you pass. Like, you need to, if you don't water yourself correctly, how would you be able to, produce what you want to produce anyway? I just feel like we got to put ourselves first, and hustle culture doesn't let us do that. I feel as though people often don't think about the emotional cost of what they're putting their bodies through, or even mind through. Like, it's hustle culture doesn't just affect your schedule, like it affects you like deep down. And you end up even losing or forgetting who you were before everything in your life had to be optimized or even monetized. And if you think about it, when was the last time you did something purely for joy? Like, it doesn't make you money, it's not improving your career in any way, but you did it just to feel alive or just to do something for the sake of it. And I just feel hustle culture kind of trains you to ignore these things, to like abandon rest, art, music, all these things that maybe don't bring you any value in terms of whether it be monetary or anything like that, it just kind of makes life kind of dull. And you think as though, some people call it ghosting, focusing on you to just get what you want. It's like you can do both. This isn't me at all saying don't go hard for what you want. No, you definitely have to. This is a dog eat dog world. There are times where you have to throw everything at something to get what you need. But I guess I'm just advocating from some level of moderation when it comes to this. I just feel like this is the main reason why people feel anxious when they're not working, or you feel guilty when you're relaxing. It's it's why you feel like beating yourself up for taking a break, even though you desperately need one. And I just feel like we got to train ourselves out of this way of thinking and remember that, our worth is not a number. It's not your salary. It's not your follower count or whatever marks you get in an assessment. Like, we're not machines. You don't need to earn your right to feel at peace. I think what we need to start doing is not taking in so much noise from the outside world in regards to being as productive as humanly possible. Like, we need to stop treating our lives like a business and just relax a little bit. Moments we need those moments of slowness, not because it's efficient and it can keep you going further, but just because we're actually human at the end of the day. Like, if we're not resting without guilt, then what's the point? We need to breathe without rushing, to spend time doing things that don't have purpose. Maybe the only purpose is to actually have fun and enjoy. And me, I'm always going to advocate for doing stuff like going out on walks without your phone, and maybe listening to music, just in your downtime when you're just relaxing, things that just kind of create that level of peace. I think it's important to not feel as though you need to earn peace. There is an element of, grinding and getting what you want. Again, this is not me saying not to do that, but yeah, I think it's just important to not feel as though if you haven't been productive recently, you can't rest. I think there are always going to be days where we were a little bit more productive, or other days where we're not as productive as we thought we would be. But I think regardless of this, we need to continue to give our body what it needs. So yeah, this is essentially me just adding on to my last video about, feeling lazy and why, you could be feeling a little bit depressed and stuff like that. I think at the end of the day, just be aware of how you feel, and don't neglect that. I know the modern man and all that stuff is telling you to not think about your feelings and push past it and stuff. And, I get where they're coming from. It's just, don't accept burnout as a natural part of life to staying for a long time. Burnout will happen, and there will even be times, maybe in your 9 to 5, you got to push past burnout. There may be times you have to do that. I guess my argument is to just give yourself time to recover and have those days where it doesn't really mean anything and you're not progressing anything further. Because I feel as though if you take enough of those, then when it is time to get your head down and push past things, it will become easier to do that. But anyway, that's my rant of hustle culture over. Again, this is not me saying don't hustle. Please go and hustle. We all need to make it in this world. My point is just chill a bit, relax. But anyway, guys, I'll catch you guys in the next one. Don't forget to like and subscribe.